Hi everyone, welcome to Table for Two. I am the Elusive Bigfoot,
I'm Onesie.
and today we are giving you our top five dice games that we like to play, and in no particular order.
Top 5 dice games in no particular order.
Is there anything that you want to say about how you chose your games?
No.
Okay. No, just
they
no.
they have dice in them.
They have dice in them. All right. And then, do you have any honorable mentions?
Let's see. I do not. You go ahead.
How did you know I have an honorable mention?
It's a wild guess.
Well, actually, I do. I have two. My first honorable mention is Dinosaur Island Roar and Write. So if you've ever played Dinosaur Island, it's a smaller version where you're rolling dice, and it's almost like you're reenacting Jurassic Park. You roll the dice to see what kind of DNA you might get, or if you get an extra meeple or something like that, and then you get to plan your park about where you want your attractions, what kind of attractions you want. And in this particular game that I'm mentioning, it's a much smaller box. Usually the Dinosaur Island takes up the whole table. This is something where you're shading in shapes to represent different things that you're building. You are rolling the dice regularly to take your actions. And I guess that's about it. I want to say about that. Anything you want to say?
You only have one honorable mention?
No. So that's number one. Number two is Steam Park. Steam Park is where everyone is rolling dice at the same time. And then what you're doing is you're choosing the actions you want to do to build your amusement park for robots. And one reason why I really like this game is because you're trying to roll as fast as you can. The first person to complete their dice gets to take the first player action. And that is really cool. I do love to roll fast.
And that has specialty dice. So there's like
it does have special
bits of stuff that are particular to the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll determine your actions, whether your action is to build a tent that will give you a certain ability, such as a duplicate type of attraction, or to clean up dirt piles. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty light game. I would say it's a midweight. And I like the 3D cardboard images of the roller coaster that you're building that you can put your actual meeples on. So that is Steam Park. So now why don't we go ahead and start in the top five?
Okay, I'll start with mine.
Perfect.
Because it's all about me.
You go for it. Right. You're wearing a shirt.
I am wearing a dice shirt. Mm-hmm. I think it's a roll or die shirt.
Roll or die.
Sounds threatening. Anyway, my first pick for the top 5 of dice games is one that we got recently. It's called Dice Miner. Right. So with a Dice Miner, it has a little cardboard bit that you build ahead of time for the game that represents a mountain, and you pile a stack of dice on it, and you choose dice off of it, and depending on what you choose, you get to do different actions. And each player has a different character with different character abilities. So not everybody is totally equal, but it kind of balances out. And you play over 3 rounds, I believe, and you do some scoring and see who got the most points.
Okay.
That's Dice Miner. Recommend it highly.
All right. I love that game. The first one I'm going to mention is called Dice Forge. And in Dice Forge, it's what you're doing is you're actually changing what is on the faces of each die. So you have a tray. It's sort of representing like not the Olympus gods, but it is sort of like that kind of a feel. And you have different properties based on each god that's there. And then you're trying to either get gold or points or special ability. Based on that, you get shards of, I think it was moonlight and fire, I think. Something like that. You're trying to get certain resources, and in that you can exchange them for different new faces that you can put on there. And the end goal really is to get the most points. So that is Dice Forge.
Well, that just so happens to have been my second pick as well. So I'll just talk a little bit about it too. And like you said, there's a moon half of the board and a fire half of the board. So when you're choosing your die faces, you can pick what you want to do. It's cards as well as dice. It has a nice big table presence. It's fun and very clever game. So instead of building your deck, you get to build your dice.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Very true.
All right.
All right. My next game is Escape, Curse of the Temple. It is a timed game where everybody is rolling their own set of dice and you are trying to collect resources so that you can move room to room to room. And there's always a danger of rolling um, a locked face. What is it called? The black mass. So you don't want to roll those. Instead, you want to just keep on rolling. And when you're traveling with someone, if you both enter the same room and you're locked up and you can't use your dice, someone can kind of help unlock some dice and you can keep moving forward. The idea is to get all the gems and escape the temple once you have everything you need, before the whole temple kind of crashes in. But it's all done. You can get like a YouTube soundtrack that plays it. There is a DVD, I think, that came with it, but we did just usually do either a timer or the YouTube soundtrack to play along with it, and that's kind of fun. All right, that is, what is it? That is Escape, Curse of the Temple.
That's an edit right there.
Should I do that again?
No, you're fine. My next game is a game that I try to mention as often as I can because it's one of my favorite games, and that's Tiny Epic Galaxies. So it's a part of a Tiny Epic series. There's a whole bunch of games called Tiny Epic this and Tiny Epic that.
This one. They have a game called Tiny Epic this?
They do. They do. Not to be confused with Tiny Epic that.
Oh, that's true.
Or Tiny Epic Galaxies, which is what I'm talking about. It's great. There's some specialty dice that go with it, and depending on how far you've progressed in the game, you get to roll a certain number of dice, and then you use those dice to perform actions. You can re-roll the dice. It's one of the fun things about this game. So with any game, part of what makes it fun is you get to make choices. So am I going to keep the dice that I rolled? Am I going to re-roll the dice that I rolled? Am I going to convert two of them to make it into another one? There's kind of a lot of options, and it's competitive. You're trying to conquer planets, and each time you conquer a planet, you get extra benefits from that. So that's Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Okay. My next game is Sagrada. Sagrada is a game where you have a grid that will hold dice, and you're taking turns rolling dice, and then each player will draft some dice and put them into the grid. But there are certain rules, such as you can't have the same number next to each other, you can't have the same color, and at the same time, there are certain abilities that you can purchase for tokens that will allow you to break those. There are certain goals that you have and you'll gain points, and the most points at the end win. But one thing that I really love about Sagrada is that when you're done building your grid of the dice, I mean, I think it's really pretty how it looks because they're clear plastic dice and they're different colors. So it's almost like a stained glass window at Sagrada.
Right, Sagrada's on my list too.
Oh, wow.
So I'll just say...
almost like we play games together.
Almost. Pretty much you play them and I watch.
Go you play. Have to beat somebody.
So I love Sagrada just because it's dice. The good thing about Sagrada is it's not specialty dice. It's just a bunch of dice. It's a whole bunch of dice.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of dice.
It's a whole bunch of dice, and they're in pretty colors and pretty patterns, and it's a fun game to play. So I'm all about how beautiful the games are, how they look while they're on the table. So this one is really beautiful looking while it's on the table. You feel like you're making something beautiful while you're doing it. You can score points along the way, even though you're doing something beautiful. And if you don't win, you had fun rolling a bunch of cool dice. So.
That's true. Okay, my next one is Space Base. If you've ever played Machikoro, it's similar to that, where when you roll your dice, it'll tell you what kind of points or kind of abilities you have. But I like Space Base a bit better, or a bit more, I should say, because in Machikoro, one thing that I have found is once you have the die face for between 2 through 12, you've kind of filled the board and you're just rolling to keep it going. There's not a lot of engine building to be had, except for buying multiple cards for certain things. But in Space Base, I actually get points and I get abilities based on what he rolls. So everyone is kind of playing at the same time. So there's not really a downtime. There's additional ways you can get points, and it is a race in points. Once you get to a certain number of points, and I don't remember what that is right now, then the game is over. The end is triggered, and you see who wins.
And I like that in general when you get a chance to do something else, even though it's somebody else's turn.
Mm. Like a simultaneous kind of turn.
Yes.
Gotcha. That is Space Base.
All right, my last one on my list is Roll For It. It's a simple game. Uses regular dice, but they're tiny dice. And it's a bidding game. So everybody rolls their dice. You choose on your turn, you choose a card to bid on, and you try to make the same pattern that's on the card in the middle of the board. It's an easy game to pack up and take with you. It'll fit in a backpack or a purse or even in your pocket, suitcase. It's a great intro game for people who are non-gamers to get them playing something, and love Roll For It. We've played it many times with other people.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also enjoy taking that game if we go to a restaurant or something like that. We just use the lid for our dice tray. That works out great.
Dice trays are great, by the way.
They are. Maybe we'll do a video on components.
Yeah, dice trays are great for not spilling your dice all over the floor.
Unless you are an aggressive roller and it just kind of bounces out of the tray anyway.
Yeah, sometimes you really just want to roll your dice into the game board and knock everything over that's on the game board, too.
Well, only if you're very lucky.
You can score more points if you knock the most pieces over with your dice.
I'm sure there's a game out there that will do that for you. Okay. All right. And my last game is actually something that was already mentioned, which is Tiny Epic Galaxies. That's also a game that I really enjoy. It's, you're either, as you're progressing up and you're spending resources to gain something, you're either choosing to gain another spaceship or you're choosing to gain another die. And so it's a great strategy also right there to figure out, what do I need more of right now? Because having spaceships on your home base may or may not help you. You definitely could get a resource that way if you roll and you get a lightning bolt, which represents energy. But sometimes you really want to fly off the map and gain other things. So that is Tiny Epic Galaxies.
All right, so that's our top 5 each in no particular order of dice games.
So if you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe to us. Just go ahead and click that bell, hit that thumbs up, and then, that'll tell us what kind of the videos that you really want to see. So for Table for Two, I'm the Elusive Bigfoot.
And I'm Onezie.
Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.